anything.
Yeah.
What do you know? I just realized there was a what?
Yeah. I work for the
So we are live, and what's coming around is where we left off last week. The district had some responses we needed to provide, so that's where we're gonna start. And then I think everyone has a copy. So what you have in front of you, yellow is in language that you've seen.
Okay.
And I put in pink new language.
Okay.
Just to make it stand out.
So yellow and good language and not a good one.
I did not do any greens, so I haven't gone back to look. I just am keeping forward what's in these particular articles.
Okay.
This is not based on any of the TA stuff.
Okay.
So then what I'm going to do is point your attention to 14.8, and that's jury duty. And so we came back last time with some language, and what we wanted to do is provide some clarity in looking at when individuals who are on swing or graveyard. We just said other, and as we talked about that, that could mean someone starts at 9 instead of 8.
Right.
So we thought really the intent is, and so we went ahead and provided clarity there. And then the last piece in will receive a full day's pay. So I think that's very close to what you had. We were just again providing some clarity within that.
So a quick question,
Yeah.
with the day shift piece here.
Mhm.
The only reason why we added something in there is just to be clear that as we understand it, that if they go and there's not 2 hours left in their day, they're allowed to go home and be paid. Is that correct?
If there's not, meaning more.
What it says
less.
here, if there's less than 2 hours.
Right, there's less.
Okay, yeah, I think we are close.
Then if you turn the page over. So this was article, there was article 21, 22, and 24. We were still waiting for a conversation with the attorney, and I know, well, we had a chance to talk with our attorney. I did a follow-up, and so what you will see in moving forward in 21 is some follow-up language. Again, keeping yellow is based on what has been brought before. Then we're shifting to article 22 and specifically 22.3. And I realized there was a lot of crossouts you had. We are not necessarily interested in taking a lot of the language out, but there's a couple of spaces maybe to provide some clarity. And so that's what you will hopefully see within the pink. I believe days for the most part were there. If we then turn the next page to 22.4.5. There's some sections that have been added, again, hopefully providing some clarity and updating based on the arbitration. And then article 24, again, we are hoping for multi-year, no additional language changes there. You had last time divided us 2 articles, and so when we talk today, we'll go through that.
Okay.
Because I know you also need to talk about this particular piece. Sure. The other thing, though, we wanted to bring forward is we don't have a new financial proposal, but we wanted to talk about what's been happening. So here, what's coming around. I'll wait till everyone gets a copy. So at the last week when we met, you provided a new financial proposal. And when we went and costed it, it was even more than the previous one. So, which means we're even farther apart. We're actually moving in the wrong directions. We're a little concerned about how do we actually come to a settlement when we're going in the opposite. So we thought it would be helpful to provide kind of each side's proposal and lay it out based on chronological with what those costs are and what the increase were for each. And so we wanted to be able to talk about this because once you start a proposal, the hope is you're getting to something that's closer and you can
Sure.
actually agree. And when we're going the opposite, that actually can appear to be bad faith. And I know, Hobie, we brought this to your Mary's attention. But we would just want to be transparent really with everyone and be able to talk about this. In fact, it might help to see the numbers all in one place.
Yeah, and we can add some context too, that I think will be helpful too.
Okay.
If you're, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just, again,
Yeah.
we wanted to, when we are able to sit and look at it, it helps.
Sure.
We wanted everyone to be able to have the same information.
Right. Yeah, and I think, I mean, we'll go to our last two proposals. There's a couple things that went on there. So with the 8-122, that proposal there, we had not previously considered working on the schedule. I know we had some discussions about, I think you guys said, have you looked at doing something like that? So we thought, oh, okay, so we looked at doing something like that. But since we didn't change our original proposal, that's why you see that uptick there. So we had to consider that fact there, because we were just trying to work on that schedule and get it ready. The last time around, there was a fundamental misunderstanding of how things work in Lincoln Town, which I think I alluded to before when we talked after the fact, but so the intent is not, obviously, we want to get a deal here. I mean, I know you guys want to get a deal here, so I don't think we have to worry about that part of it. But the intent is not to make it a wider gap on the wages. It was because of those two specific things. That's why you see that change there in each of those. Doesn't mean we don't still have some work to do. The last quote we got to you was a $1 proposal, and it did go up. It did reduce by 75 cents. I suspect we're not there with that proposal, but that was to show you that we are trying. We were cognizant of the mistakes that we've made on the compound piece specifically. We're trying to address that. We plan to have some more conversations on wages with our side, I'll say, because it, you know, what, 2 hours and we couldn't get it where we were liking what we were having there. And so, but we still want to get you back that proposal. So we have a lot more work to do on our side for that when we caucus. Now that everybody understands how all the facets work. So I don't think that will be a problem going forward. But obviously you can evaluate yourself through the process is, let's go with that if you feel. My other quick question for you, not a quick question, I guess maybe a point, is this the end of your presentation first?
Well, yeah, and then I have some questions because you sent me an email,
Okay,
but let's talk through this first.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to find out. Go ahead.
I have one, Olivia, on the one you gave us where we can work and put numbers in, is there a way in that one to, you know, how on your salary thing, it's 2.5, 2.25, is there a way in that we can do that?
Yeah, those are part of those highlighted cells.
So that'll
So
be
you
one
can-
thing.
You
can
can
put
modify the percent between steps, the percent between ranges, the COLA.
Okay,
If you're wanting it to be a different percent between groups of steps, what I sent you would need to be modified, but I already have a new version of that you
Okay,
can
that was
use
like-
from, because our proposal was like that, where it grouped it into.
right, that's what we're looking.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I want to just make sure we answer any questions on
Oh.
this first.
I think we're good.
Okay. So, Hobie, you sent me an email end of last week that had some language and financial. What I want to get clear, is that a new proposal you all are providing? And if so, I want for transparency for everyone to have that.
Sure.
And for you to share that.
Yeah, we met as a committee, we talked about the concerns you guys had here and looked at where our error was made. And went ahead and came back with the $1 proposal we put forward. I think our previous proposal was 375. we came back with $3 per cell, I believe is what it said. That was the intent of that proposal. And also it was paired up with the holiday proposal, which was, I think we dropped down to 2 holidays for the 10-month folks and 1 for the 12-month folks from our previous positions, which had considerably more on each level for the holiday. Does that answer that?
Well, so what I want to be clear on, let's see, that was last week.
It was Friday or Thursday night after we met.
Is it, because it said corrected, so is this, to me, it seems like it's new, so you had submitted this one that had the 8% COLA.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one was put forward with an error because we hadn't figured out the piece between the compounding piece. So that was an error on our part. So you can call it a new proposal and correct it. It's effectively the same thing. It's meant to replace this proposal because this one was put forward incorrectly.
Okay, and so then with that, just again for clarity, the only thing you take our current salary schedule that we have posted out there right now that has the ABC and all of that in there. And all you're proposing is to do a $3 raise to each cell, correct?
Yeah, it follows the same trail as our other proposals. We hadn't factored in what you put forward on your proposal limiting steps. That's what we have there. It's exactly like our last proposal, 375. Same thing. Using the
Okay,
same
so
scale.
modifying the schedule,
You're right.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted, because that didn't say that here, so again, we just want to be
Right.
super clear what we're working. with.
Whether you know for sure, then yes.
Okay. So your proposal that was corrected for the 16th is $3 raise for each cell and modifying the salary schedule to. Is it the percentage between the ranges and eliminating the ABC?
No, we'd be utilizing the original scale because that's what our original proposal say.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we've had multiple versions, so that's, I'm just trying to see which one I'm following.
The ones that have been bundled have been 4, 375, and then now 3. Those are
Okay.
the non-bundled version. The bundled version you saw this one that had part of it correct and part of it incorrect.
Yeah, but the 375 also had those new, modified salary schedule proposal, which is again why I'm trying to determine, are we working from our current salary schedule, a $3 increase? Or a modified, which was the ranges, the percent between steps and eliminating. Because all of that makes a huge
It
difference.
does,
right, in
it
cost.
does. The $3 proposal is based on the one that appears in the contract now,
Okay,
in that bundle. So that's what it says.
okay.
Okay. Is that James?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay. So then, based on that, I know we'd like to talk is
Sure.
be able to share your information. We have the 2 we had last time.
Okay.
And then we can come back.
Before we talk, we also have an article to come back with, and we'll share with you after caucus as well. You know, it's the safety article.
Do you want us to have that info to talk about?
Oh.
the caucus?
We want to talk about the second piece a little bit more. I found out today, so we'll bring it back to today.
Okay.
We just want to have a quick discussion.
Okay.
All right. We can go off record. Yeah. All right. So is it okay if we start, since we have a proposal for you, we're gonna give you some responses to what you gave us today. That's all right. Okay. You don't have to read it.
What is that?
Roll. They're on. So on the front here, you'll see,
Sorry.
we added a section 1, and that'll become apparent why later. That's what's in the blue up there. So we still have the word serious in there. I would still feel that should be struck because I mean, it's bodily injury, bodily injury. But the good news is I think the rest of it, we accepted the combination of yours and our language. We got the front page done. You flip it over. On the back of number 7 there, I think we're all good on that too. And in the section 2, where we put the health and safety situations. So we did a bit of a rewrite, as you can see here. We actually lessened it somewhat on the number of bullets. We really went back and looked at that original MOU that was part of this, and we're trying to pull things together. And this is what we came up with. We thought it accomplished the goals of what we were trying to do. 4 bullets it looked like. So I'll give you a second to read it and see if you have any questions. I take it back, there's 5 bullets, as long as you still cross that. Just the bullet part.
So one question I would have was, in your last proposal, there was interest in paying an amount versus the leave. So I'm just curious where the change came from.
Yeah, here's that idea. Yeah, I think we were talking about 2 different things. We were talking about at that time, we were talking potentially keeping an MOU in place for the hazardous body fluid, or whatever it was, weaponized, I guess it was. And we saw, and we had that kind of 2 separate tracks. And then I saw you guys kind of folded them back together. So with that idea, we were discussing it. We decided it would probably be easier for the leave to do the dollars, since we're trying to compromise and push them into one thing. So that's what we came up with the leave piece. We pulled it from the
MOA had the leave,
Yeah,
right? But I
yeah.
guess I got the impression that paying for the other component, which again, we did try and merge it, so we had it all together, more of an interest. So that's why we went that route instead of the leave.
Yeah, no, understood. I mean, we had 2 separate things, right? You try to combine it. I get that. We talked through it. The folks felt that was the better solution for that particular, if we're gonna combine them, that's the better solution for
to
that.
have the leave.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I ask one more question about that?
Sure.
Was that more about, and I also noticed in here, there's a spot about like a single step or a single process.
Right.
Was it more about the process component that led to the leave, or is it truly that people would just prefer to leave?
The committee, when they, since they were separate, to be able to brought them together like that, they decided that the leave was something that made more sense. We're gonna go in that direction, yeah. Although we definitely didn't want one process where we do it and get it all out to you through that process, right?
Okay, that was good.
And if we're good with that, I'll move on to what you gave us, we'll start before we caucus.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
That's all right, go ahead.
I actually just realized, so you're actually wanting to incorporate this into the contract and not.
Section 1, section 2.
That's where.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where the section 1, section 2 comes in. Because we also thought about what you said about the fact that if you blend them together, then it can kind of change some of the meaning of the first section we get put in. So we made a separate section, identify this for that reason. All righty, so we're just gonna verbally address these to you. On 8, we're okay, obviously, with the first sentence there, and you are too, 8.1.
Hold on a second, I want to.
you're working off our.
I'm working off
August
of-
22nd,
Yeah,
today's.
yeah. So,
I just would have it in front of me, is all.
well, that's okay. That makes sense.
Okay,
All right, so 8.1 and 8.2, we're okay with the way you have it stated here. And we'll go back through and check if there's anything else in these articles that we need to talk about or not. We want to give you a progress report where we're at. So 14.3, nothing's changed for us there. And then going to your next change, which was 14.8, we're okay with that language the way you proposed it. We'll incorporate it into our either TA or final proposal. Down. The other change, the next change I show, let me ask you a question. Under 21.1, the discussions I had with Mary, I know you get no changes, Nancy. Nancy, did she discuss with you that one of the concerns we have with this was, if we left it in there, but we made it clear that, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if there's some kind of strike action, let's say by the teachers, that we can participate on our breaks before, after work, that kind of stuff. Did she talk about any of this?
We talked about the language overall,
Yeah,
and the idea is not necessarily, if there hasn't been a problem, why we would need to remove it, because I know a lot of yours is actually striking things
it was,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So she recommended this particular piece, thinking it might bring a little bit of clarity.
Right.
Based on your conversation.
So on specific to the no strike piece here, I guess maybe we don't need to change its language if we have the same understanding. Hope it doesn't happen, but let's say the teacher or some other group has some kind of strike action. And we show up before work to hang out from the picket lines, or we go out on our break and talk to one of the picket lines, or do, something like, or maybe even hold the picket sign during our break. Would you consider that a violation of 21? We're not striking, we're not doing it on district time. Because that's really the piece that I'm worried about, is that if they did something like that. Now, hopefully we never need it, but I would say that we probably have that right, but I just want to make sure that we're talking apples to apples here, because I don't think we need to change it if we both have that same understanding. And to be really clear, not on work duty, when they're supposed to be working.
Well, then if they're slowing down access to the property through the picketing.
How would they, that's not what a slowdown is, just FYI. I see what you're saying, but that's not a slowdown.
and
Slowdown.
Restriction of work.
do you want to just?
Yeah.
take the
Yeah, I
question?
want to
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
think about that to
Okay.
make sure. So but what I'm hearing is your interest is more on break and lunchtime, or after work, on their non-paid
Right.
time with the district that an individual could participate.
Yeah, when they're released from duty or they're off the clock, I mean, they clearly would not be able to do that when they're on duty.
Right.
I mean, that's clear from our side. Anyway. Okay, we'll think about that, because if we don't need to change it, then I think we're good with that spot. 21.4, with this additional change, we're okay with that piece. On 21.4. Jumping to 22 and going to 22.3. So 22.33 talks about the use of forms, which when I went back and looked at this, previous I've seen have all been emails, they've not been forms. I'm frustrated because I thought that we'd had a discussion with me and Nancy that really the concern was that we have clear grievances, right? Like it contains what the issue is, who you talk to try to resolve it, and like, what one possible remedy would be, right? And that's what I thought this section was going to come back at, so it didn't. And it's mainly just because I can't find where you get these forms and agreements for a long time going back and looking. So I'm just, it just feels like outdated language, quite frankly. That's why I had struck. But I was amenable to making those changes with those pieces in it, so that we're being really clear that if you file agreements, it has these pieces, right? And I'd be amenable to doing that instead of having these forms here in this section. Since I don't know what they are, or if they exist, or I've never seen one, couldn't find one. But that's my only concern with that piece there. Down under 22.35, we're okay with that change. That does clarify it.
22.3.5, you're okay with?
22.35, yeah, that looks okay, so. And then I gotta look at the changes back to with the arbitration and get back to you on that piece. So I'm hoping that gives you some kind of idea where we're at, and I do think we're making progress on that, so appreciate you guys bringing that stuff. And with that, no questions? All right, we'll turn it over to you. I think you got your role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just trying to find my spot.
Yeah.
All right, so we just are bringing back Article 5, Article 9, and Article 12. And so in Article 5, we are not proposing any changes from our last proposal on Article 5. Again, we don't see a need to change the classification process. And so we're not bringing forward any language that would be different from that. Under 9, we did go ahead and add we agree on the language related to sending out the annual information about how to find the details needed for job postings moving forward. That makes sense, and that's something that we can do on an annual basis in September. And then on Article 12, there we one of the things that we looked at while we were practicing is we looked at the schedule of holidays for our non-rep group as well. And this aligns with that group. And so we wanted to maintain that alignment that we currently have. So that's where we are on holidays. And then finally on the back, we are coming back on the financial because it felt like we needed to come back based on the $3 that you proposed in the email. And so where we're at is where we were before on the 2.75% COLA, as well as the modification to the salary schedule. We still think a modification to the salary schedule benefits folks for a number of reasons rather than the flat dollar amount. You know, one of them is what we ran into last time when we were talking about how those steps get off by percentage if we go with a specific dollar amount. Also, it allows people to move more quickly through the salary schedule, which we also think is beneficial for folks. So we don't have those years that people are staying on the same spot. So we're still interested in working towards an agreement related to salary that includes that modified salary schedule. So we wanted to make sure that you, again, I don't think that's new information, but just to review how we think that's has been an important piece moving forward. So then all in all, that's still the what we had on 8.9 or August 9th, which is the 5.5 is an increase above base. And so that's where we're at.
So this is unchanged in this case?
Yeah. But with Toby sending that email, I felt like we needed to come back and reshare.
Yeah.
So we're staying in the back and forth of it.
Right. All right, well, thank you for getting back to some stuff. Believe it or not, doesn't feel like it often, but we are getting closer. I feel like inches, not feet, but you know, we're getting there. There's been talk of doing like a multi session. I mean, if you guys didn't do something like that. See if we can maybe give it time to push this over to the line. I didn't know if that's something the district's interested, want to talk about it, come back to us or.
Yeah, I
there's some
think-
interest over here.
I think we would want to talk, it's just to talk through that.
Right.
But we could talk through that and get back to you quickly. Do you have it, did you have any dates in mind or?
No, not just yet. I know we have one more on September 9th. We have coming up, one more meeting scheduled, so.
So it would be after that September 9th date is what you're thinking.
Unless you have September 9th open. Potentially it could be, we could extend it out, but, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let us caucus for a
Okay.
couple of minutes and then come back. And then in between. So right now financials are with you
Yep.
for a proposal, as well as Article 5, 9, and 12. And then for us, we have some, you brought forward Article 23 and embedded the MOA and then, or MOU, and then, I can't remember what it's called, yeah, MOA. And then the other piece was getting some clarification around the right to strike, and then we were going to work on the arbitration.
I think Article 14 still up. We haven't completed that one either.
Yeah.
You said it.
That's the leads.
Yeah.
We have already-
That was in your proposal today.
Well, I know, I'm just saying that's one we have not resolved between
Right.
both parties.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm saying who's I didn't mention that, but that's true.
I almost want to create a list of what we still have outstanding.
Yeah.
As we've been back and forth so many
Yeah.
times.
It's helpful.
And I kind of want to say that loud, that is lovely, as September 9th says, so. I don't want to be out of our building, our building will be on the 30th school. If the absolutely.
Well, I do have the 10th wide open.
I guess what I'm wondering is,
We should get that canceled.
we have the 9th, I think it's a half day, approximately. Doing a whole day, what are you envisioning that looks like?
Like when we did with Central Gallatin, we started at 9, and we ended like 4 or 5. If we get it that time, I think both cases. Well, essentially, I think Gallatin ended early, but we're looking at that. That's what I would get, something like 9 to 4, something like that, so we can actually have time to figure it out, and we could talk about the whole lunch situation and, you know, splitting out or something, if that makes sense. But that's kind of what I'm envisioning, because it just gives a chance to really, we're getting things done, but then, you know, time's up, right? And then we, so it's like, if we have time to really kind of, we're getting to the point where we're getting really close to like final few issues, I feel like. Which probably bundles back and forth, trying to figure out what we can live with, you know, and that usually works better if we have a little more time to bounce these back and forth, so. That's what I'm talking about. So.
And part of that is we still are so far apart financially. I don't want, like, you know, we all have a lot to do during the day. I know we want to settle, but it seems like that sometimes takes a little bit longer. And so that's why I was curious what you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you thinking earlier?
Earlier, what do you mean?
7 a.m.?
I'm pretty sure most people would not want to do that.
Well, I'm up. Good. All right, fair enough. Well, once you guys talk.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.